Alright, the NFL has officially decided on the Eagles' home opener with the Birds hosting the Boys, as well as some other schedule details, so I'm going to give some tickets away. However, as great as that is, the best part might be Cowboys rookie Tyler Booker having to eat his own words about Jalen Carter. Don't worry, I'll explain what that is if you don't get the reference. Also, there was a needless Nakobe Dean scare over the weekend, but I think we can all relax a little bit, at least for now. Meanwhile, some Tanner McKee trade rumors could make some sense, but are they worth the risk? Let's talk about all that and everything else around Philly, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Guess what? Did you know that we're now closer to the start of training camp than we are to Super Bowl 59? Now, I know, we still got a long ways to go, and it's not like any of us are trying to block out that memory anytime soon. Although for the Kansas City Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, seeing the Birds dismantle the Chiefs might have left a sore spot. So get this, that same Kansas City museum actually put a wager with the Philadelphia Museum of Art before the big game, with the winner getting to add an Antwaun painting to their collection afterward. Of course, I'm sure KC expected to at least be in the fight a little longer than they were. Yet once Philly hit him with the dagger of 1 + 6 = 7, it's safe to say there was a little regret on the backing of the Chiefs.
What were we thinking?
I'm honestly not sure, but they certainly paid for it. However, I should point out that it wasn't as permanent as it first sounded, because Manet's The Croquet Party only gets to stay in Philly through August 17th. But if you find yourself going to the museum, or if you want to just troll like me, then you can head to Gallery 252, take a selfie, and, I don't know, tag the Chiefs in a photo on social media for good measure. Now, is that too much or over the top? Maybe, yet this is also the same team that created Eagles tears right after they beat us a few years ago, so I would say it's justified. You guys let me know in the comments, and also drop a like on this video, because if this one can hit 3,000 likes, then I'm going to give away tickets to the Eagles regular season opener. And come on, it might not get any better than Week 1 in Philly, after the NFL officially announced that the Thursday Night Football kickoff game will feature the Eagles against the Cowboys on primetime. Meaning not only would you get to see the Birds raise the Super Bowl banners, but maybe more gratifyingly, you'd get to witness Jerry Jones's horror of having to be present on the night of the celebration.
Are you okay?
By the way, for those curious, the Eagles opened up as 6.5-point favorites or even 7-point favorites depending on the lines you look at. Also, I don't know if you realize this, but Philly getting a home opener on Week 1 is the first time the league's done that since 2019, where, like Zach Berman reminded, that was when Carson Wentz was the starting quarterback, Darren Sproles was the leading rusher in that game, and Deshaun Jackson led the team in receiving to help the Birds come from down 13 in the second half to win 32-27. Although if you want to go back to the last time the Eagles played that Dallas Suck squad on Week 1, that was 2000. You know, aka the Pickle Juice game, which of course was in Dallas and personally was one of my first vivid early memories watching the Birds, as they flat out embarrassed the Cowboys by a final score of 41-14, courtesy of an early onside kick, running back Deuce Staley's 201 rushing yards, and a suffocating defense that only gave up 167 total yards. Granted, and we kind of already know this, but when it comes to this present-day Eagles team, they're even better. Now sure, last season Dallas was dealing with some injuries, but there's no denying just how big of a mismatch it was with the Birds winning by 28-34 last year. However, there's an even bigger mismatch in storyline that I personally cannot wait to see. After Cowboys rookie guard Tyler Booker was asked who he was most looking forward to facing in the NFL, and he said Jalen Carter, leading to the Liberty line, quipping, "Tyler Booker already asked for trouble, but the NFL just made sure to deliver it to him early in Week 1.
I immediately regret this decision.
Yeah, he is absolutely going to regret that decision. But there's one decision you won't regret, and that's trying out Transparent Labs, the sponsor of today's video. Because over the last few years, I've really started to focus on taking better care of myself and consistently working out. However, when I first started doing that, it didn't take long before I plateaued and stopped getting the gains I was early on. But after some quick research, I realized I wasn't getting anywhere close to the amount of protein I need. Which is why I was excited to team up with Transparent Labs, because their grass-fed whey protein isolate makes it easy for me to hit my protein goals in a clean and healthy way. Now for me, the most important part is that it contains no artificial sweeteners, dyes, or fillers. Plus, each serving consists of 28 grams of protein sourced exclusively from grass-fed cows. Also, one thing that I found through my research is that using pure isolate actually allows your body to digest and absorb protein easier. Of course, for those wondering, yes, the protein tastes great, it isn't chalky, and I haven't had any digestive issues. And the best part is this protein comes in 14 delicious natural flavors, so you can easily switch it up when you feel like having something different. So if you'd like to try Transparent Labs grass-fed protein for yourself, then head down to the link in the description box. And for a limited time, Transparent Labs is giving you a free protein starter kit and 10% off your purchase. And in case you're wondering, the kit includes a shaker bottle and a variety pack of 5 single-serving protein pouches in their top flavors, so you can find your favorite. Again, just click the link or scan the QR code to get the offer while it lasts. Let me ask a serious question. When and why would you ever call out Jalen Carter? I mean, I know some people are like, whatever, it doesn't matter, and who's honestly paying attention to that? Except that's why we say beware the bread man, because he's had a consistent track record of hearing the noise and then making his presence felt, and probably none more so than the NFC divisional round against the Los Angeles Rams. Like, remember LA edge rusher Jared Verse brought the attention on himself when he said he hated Philly fans prior to the game? And then Jalen Carter met him pregame to try and put an extra wager on the decision. Of course, be that as it may, kudos to Verse because he played really well in the contest. It's just that JC became even more unblockable, and Matt Stafford didn't necessarily appreciate Verse making his life needlessly more difficult.
I wish I hadn't done that.
Come on, you could argue the breadman single-handedly ensured Philly moved on to the NFC Championship. And considering that former Cowboys All-Pro guard Zach Martin couldn't even fathom just how good JC was in their first matchup his rookie year, T-Book has a pretty scary situation that he created for himself. Again, if you want a chance to see that massacre waiting to happen, all you gotta do is drop a like on this video. As always, once this video hits 3,000 likes, then I'll share more details on an upcoming video for how to get entered to win the tickets. Anyway, that's my favorite storyline heading into week 1, but curious to hear your guys' thoughts, so let me know in the comments. Like, it's totally understandable if you got your eyes on Donovan Ezraku having to play against his favorite team growing up in the Eagles, or even Kelee Ringo battling it out with George Pickens. Since, like Anthony DeBona pointed out, Ringo and Pickens were previously teammates at Georgia, and the two likely had some great matchups from back in college. Plus, regardless of who you think this will test more, if Ringo is able to lock down Pickens, it'll go a long way toward establishing even more confidence in the secondary's ability to limit offenses like they were last season. And then the other area to see will be Jihaad Campbell likely making his first NFL start against the team he grew up hating. Again, like I've commented on other videos, yes, he's still rehabbing the shoulder surgery he had recently and could be limited for a bit, but reports are it shouldn't delay his ability to start in week 1, which is especially important because according to injury experts Dr. Jesse Morse, the projected timeline for Nakobe Dean to even be close to returning would be well after the season starts.
This is a significant injury. I'm going to walk you through the anatomy here, give you some recent examples, and give you kind of an idea of what to expect for him in 2025 season and when he potentially can return to what we would expect to be his baseline. So this is not a common injury. It used to be a death knell to NFL players, meaning they pretty much never came back from this injury. That has significantly changed. But the question becomes, do they ever get back to their baseline or pre-injury? And, we've seen at least 3 or 4 that come to mind this year. For some reason, 3 of them all happened on the Cincinnati Bengals. You had Deontay Smith, who's an offensive tackle. That's usually where they happen, a lot of the linemen. Then you had Chris Evans, who's actually a running back. And then eventually Trent Brown actually also suffered one. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more that I may have missed on different teams. In terms of anatomy, think of the patellar tendon as attaching to the kneecap or the patella and then to the shin. This is essentially playing tug of war. It's basically a pulley from here to here. So whenever you move your leg, it constantly pulls. And you can see how that would be super important if you have a full thickness tear here. Now, the problem with this is when you're doing an ACL reconstruction, you're coming back from an ACL, you want to fire the squad as soon as possible. With a patellar tendon repair, it's the opposite. You do not want to fire it as soon as possible, and that has a tendency to slow down the recovery. Now, depending on who you ask, the data shows you can come back in 6 months, but sometimes it's closer to 12 months. I expect him to start the season on the PUP list. Now, the problem with these is they are frustrating injuries. They're very slow injuries, and they're hard to be explosive, which is not what you want to see with a guy like this. Now, let me give you some examples of other guys that have come back from this. One that you Eagles fans may remember is Brandon Graham. There's also Lucas Niang, J.C. Jackson, and Gerard Mayo, the former Patriots head coach and player. With that being said, the data seems to show that if he does come back next season in 2025, he's probably not going to be 100% post-surgery ideal stats until probably 2 to 3 years after this. It's kind of a big deal. So these are a bad injury. It's an unfortunate injury, a very frustrating injury, significant surgery.
Okay, goes without saying, not the best projected timeline or recovery for Dean, but at the same time, everyone's different, and Dean's already proven a lot of people wrong. So I'll definitely continue praying for that recovery, and I'm certainly not ruling out a surprise from 17. I mean, let's not forget, the man himself expects to be back in no time.
Rehab going good. I'm getting better daily. Just continue to work and get better day in and day out.
And do you have a timetable for when you think you'll be ready to go 100% on the field?
I mean, yeah, I plan to be back. I plan to be back in no time, so we just continue to work and get better daily. God got me, and I'm continuing to work. I feel good, and I'm continuing to work to feel better.
Again, I hope that's the case, but realistically, we're probably not going to have a legit ETA or update until training camp, if even that. However, I at least wanted to touch on that topic after several of you DM'd me regarding Dean and others drawing similarities to San Francisco 49ers outside linebacker Drake Jackson, since he suffered the same injury in Week 8 of the 2023 season and recently failed a physical despite it being more than a year of rehab. But like I've said and talked about in live streams, on average, sure, Dean's injury has derailed a lot of careers, yet it's not like it's an absolute certainty that it will. Anyway, I'll keep you guys up to date if and when we get any more solidified news, but realistically, like we're talking about, it's probably not July, maybe even August that we hear back about Dean and some details if he's going to make it for the start of the season, camp, is he participating, we'll see. Of course, on the topic of schedules, the NFL will be releasing more dates for the league schedule throughout this week, so make sure to continue checking back since I'll have more updates and announcements as we get them. For example, like we have December 20th, a Saturday, where the Birds will be visiting Washington to play the Commanders. And here's the thing, when you take into account that the Bears and Packers are playing on that same day, along with Philly hosting Chicago for Black Friday, it would appear that a trip to Lambeau for Christmas is in the works. Now, that could mean some unique scheduling options like international games or maybe more importantly, Christmas Day games and other holidays, but I wouldn't expect anything as shocking as what we got over the weekend about Derek Carr announcing his retirement. Although the reason that I bring that up and potentially some relevancy towards the Eagles is this whole idea of the trade rumor or speculation for McKee. If you haven't seen it, it's been thrown out there as trade bait for the Saints, which on one hand makes some sense. After all, would you be feeling confident if your QB room consisted of Tyler Shuck, Jake Haener, and Spencer Rattler?
You think we need one more? You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
It leaves a little to be desired, that's for sure. And considering that Kellen Moore has past experience with Tanner McKee and the Eagles drafted Kyle McCord, it's understandable to wonder what he'd be worth. Yet I will say, we don't have a clue if McCord or Dorian Thompson-Robinson pan out. I mean, sure, we could say DTR, there's hope there, but he hasn't amounted to anything, and McCord's a rookie. Now, yes, we've got Jalen Hurts, but if he gets injured and has to miss a game or multiple games, there's only one guy in the room that you can say has more than proved he's got the ability to win you some games. But okay, fine, everyone's got a price, so for, I don't know what, a second-round pick, okay, maybe, sure, I would do that. But then for a third, I'm still probably leaning toward keeping Tanner. I don't know, what are your thoughts on McKee, and what would you have to get back in return to consider trading him? Let's debate that one in the comments. Also, reminder, I'm going to be spinning for one lucky subscriber to win the signed Dallas Goedert rookie card from the previous video during the Tuesday night live stream. So make sure you're entered by checking out that video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. This has been the Philly Special.